You're listening to the 14th source for all geeky nerdy news and discussion, which means that you're listening to a podcast.
For all intents and purposes.
I am D. Bethel.
And I'm Andrew Asplin.
And we are your two overeducated, codependent nerd hosts, bringing you the things that we like to talk about, but filtered through inquisitive and critical lenses. In the episode for Friday, December 20th, 2024.
Oh my gosh, it's the night before Christmas.
And all through that, it's not. That's next Wednesday.
It's the weekend
it's 4
before
days
Christmas.
before Christmas, and all through the house. This poem was long, and I need to be soused to get through the whole thing for 4 whole days, or else I'll go crazy and lose all my ways.
I ran to the kitchen, and what could it be?
Yeah.
Christmas crunch from the captain to me.
Here's a bottle of bourbon from my dad's old cupboard.
Sorry, I know there's the old Captain Crunch commercial did that, where it's Christmas crunch from the captain to me.
There we go.
I didn't like Captain Crunch to begin with, but now you put Christmas shit in it.
One of those weird jingles just drills into your subconscious and is always there. Comes out at inopportune times for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to talk about some things in the final hours of this year.
Yes,
that we watched, saw, experienced, or otherwise.
Oh man, as long as it's not me having to paint anything. Let me just the last God, probably since August. Technically, we've been in a renovation mode. Hopefully my room is not as echoey as it is now because it's all been furnished and stuff has been hung up on the wall. But one of the things we've done since the big renovation was we're hoping to do a larger scale renovation, but the contractor, don't worry about it. Anyway, we ended up painting up our guest bathroom. And I'd never painted a room before. 1, I'm not bad at it. 2, it sucks. Painting sucks. And so as long as our end of the year sort of festivities don't involve me painting any walls, then I'm going to be okay.
So you're giving me hard flashbacks to when I had windows replaced in my house in New York. And had to paint, replace not the frame, but there was something about the window.
Yeah.
Oh, because the blinds were mounted poorly. Yeah. And ended up having to actually repaint a wall of a room.
Yeah.
And that
sucks.
Kicked my ass.
It
so
sucks.
I understand.
But let me tell you what. I did it well. Every time I get out of the shower, so to be honest, we're using our guest shower because our primary shower is leaking. We haven't been able to use that shower since June. It fucking sucks. So we repainted this bathroom mostly because we're using it. And why not? We got the paint because it's left over from the remodel. But every time I get out of the shower, I look at the corners. I'm because our walls and our ceiling are different colors. I'm I did a great job. That is a straight fucking line. Look at that. And now I just realized we are having the middle-aged man podcast.
Yeah. That's what we're here to do.
Let's talk about
something that we both find exciting independently. So we're going to actually talk about our weeks in geek. So, Andrew, tell me about your week in geek this week.
Yes,
well,
please.
Thank you, Andrew. I'd love to.
Am I kicked off the show?
Speaking of middle-aged man podcast,
okay.
I watched a documentary.
You took up bridge, and it's a fascinating, fun game.
Yeah, I watched a documentary on Habo. I'm sorry, not Habo. Max.
Yes.
Because again, when you rebrand, go ahead and drop the thing that people identify.
Right.
But apparently they have the whole series of documentaries that are about things. Because when I watched it, it was oh, do you want to see this other one? I'm oh, you have other ones? But this documentary I watched was about Yacht Rock.
The YouTube show that was making fun of the Yacht Rock phenomenon from the 80s and 70s?
Actually, yes and yes. So it was a documentary about the genre of music known as yacht rock. However, the thing they make very clear in that documentary is that the name Yacht Rock comes from the 2005 comedic web series. Like that genre didn't have that name until that web series, but now that's the name that people use to identify the genre of music.
So I did a little research. Is this the documentary called Yacht Rock, a documentary? Dockumentary.
Yes, a documentary. Like you dock your yacht.
This is brand new. You're like watching a new thing, Andrew.
Right. So I watched it because while I'd seen the comedic web series from 2005, and I've listened to a fair amount of Yacht Rock.
Maybe we explain like what Yacht Rock is briefly for the young people that might be.
Well, that's actually, this is part of the documentary. Like, what even is Yacht Rock? And actually,
I think of like Michael McDonald. I think of people wearing loafers and no socks.
What I will say is that that becomes a discussion point in the documentary. And in fact, the people they talk to, two of the people in the documentary are two of the comedians from the web series. Because again, they're the ones that defined that phrase. So what does it mean to be yacht rock, right?
And those are very irreverent, like comedic sketches, right? Like, wasn't there murder involved at some point?
Well, yeah, I mean, so that, again, they talk about this in the documentary. It's actually like, I actually appreciate that they both address the genre of music, but also the thing that got it its name. It's really weird. Because actually, one of the things they address is how did the web series and even the name come to be? And that explains like what it means to be yacht rock, because not everything is right. Like you might think, oh, this is yacht. So they talk about that. The idea that they say like basically the comedians that did it, they were living in LA and they went to a record store that had like a 99-cent fucking record sale. And they just bought these old, vinyl records of all this shit from the late 70s. That was, like stuff like, like
Michael McDonald and Christopher Cross and
the
Kenny
Doobie
Loggins.
Brothers, Steely
yes.
Dan.
Michael McDonald was a part of the Doobie Brothers as well, yeah.
Chris Cross, some Loggins.
No, Christopher Cross. Chris Cross will make you jump.
Yeah. Toto.
Yeah.
But all sorts of stuff. And they said that like they were buying these because they were poor and they wanted something to do. And they started to notice that if you looked at like the credits on the back of the record, they started to realize like, wait, all this shit we're buying from the late 70s, it's all the same guys. Like or not the same guys, but like they all work together. So like you'd see a Steely Dan record and you'd see three of the guys from Toto on it. Yep. And then you'd see whatever. And you'd see like you'd look at this whatever Christopher Cross and you'd see Michael McDonald and these other guys on it. It's the idea that they all like it's like they all were part of a club or something. Now, and what they talk about in the show is that they were. It was just like the LA studio music scene of the late 70s.
Yeah, for sure.
That kind of grew out of Steely Dan wanting to record stuff, and basically going to their studio team. And that kind of grew and included all these people that would then go do their own things, but they'd all work together, so they'd record it together. The idea that was that they even address Michael Jackson did Human Nature, which was written by one of the Toto guys. Yeah. Because they recorded that, So it just that was kind of like what it means, and that what that does also defines it that it is this genre of music that they even say like probably. What a Fool Believes by McDonald and Loggins. Yeah. They say they kind of say like that is the definitive yacht rock.
Yeah, but, sure.
But it's not just that it sounds a certain way. Because they also say like things like Hall & Oates are not yacht rock. In fact, in the series, they're actually like nemesis. Because they've got this, and there's the way they discuss it is that like they're from Philadelphia. So they have their own sound thing, whereas the yacht rock scene has a sound that kind of developed from whatever. And like, so it's this whole thing where they talk about what it means to be or not to be yacht rock. And sure. And there's all sorts of stuff. Like they talk about the fact that, McDonald was featured on an episode of Soul Train. And they actually have a number of black artists who talk about the fact that like yacht rock is like, while we think of McDonald and Loggins or whatever, It's also a very black genre.
It's really rooted in soul. Yeah, for sure.
Well, and it's rooted in certain aspects. It's like the whole thing is wild because it's like, oh yeah, man, this is all, this music, whatever. It was really popular in the late 70s and it just like disappeared in the 80s, which they also talk about. And actually, I will tell you, spoiler, the documentary basically says, the reason why it just all disappeared, music videos, MTV. Because when you see these guys, they were not music
they look
video
like they're
people.
just drinking beer with your dad at the bar. Yeah.
they made music, and like they were not the people you want to see.
Well, that's the thing. And also like a lot of them were like Michael McDonald, especially, and Kenny Loggins as well, and Christopher Cross. Actually, now that I think about it, not that I know a lot about these guys, but what I do know all lines up. Started as studio musicians, right? They were musicians for hire, and got their chance and took it to become solo artists. But a lot of, just like with when talkies were introduced, for film and whatnot, some people didn't seamlessly make the transition. Right. And that makes a lot of sense, actually.
So it was a really, and they talk about but then the influence, how like later a bunch of like rap artists started sampling shit. Like I forget which one they talk about, like the big hip hop artist who sampled McDonald. And actually, Yacht Rock, the show, the series, does an episode about this, where it's like, oh, you'll be famous in the 90s. Yeah, because he became his music became the sampling track for this very popular hip hop song. So the whole thing is it's just a weird thing. And what I do appreciate is they have the comedians, they have actually a lot of the yacht rockers. Like a lot of these people, guys from Toto, guys from whatever,
is
McDonald's
Mr. McDonald?
There.
There you go.
McDonald and Loggins are both in it. Christopher Cross is in it. I think most of Toto is in it. A bunch of other people who I'm like, I don't even know who you are, but that's cool. The one thing I will say is not everyone's super into it. They do have a bit where they call, I think, one of the two guys in Steely Dan, and apparently it's basically just like, oh, what are you calling for? Oh, we're doing a documentary about Yacht Rock. What? Yacht Rock? Yeah, fuck you. Click.
Yeah,
like, oh,
they're kind of notoriously curmudgeonly, so
not everyone loves this. But I will say it was actually a really. I think what I like about it is this idea that, and they address this, that this was a genre that was very popular and then it kind of disappeared and became. I would say like the joke, the shit your mom listens to, not your mom, but like the generic your mom listens to, or your dad. However,
soft rock is the term ultimately before yacht rock came around. It's
right.
Yeah, soft rock music that was radio friendly, but had hints of, kind of speaking to what you were talking about with the origins of the more progressive and maybe impactful music of early years, sanitized for a popular audience and by white people.
by white people. But no, but in the fact that then it had this resurgence because of this web series.
Yeah.
Right. And they even show footage of like yacht rock fucking conventions and shit.
Yeah. So how did you find that stuff? Because I remember you were kind of on the yacht rock train. I remember you talking about it a lot and going like, this is hilarious. You were talking
because a friend just said like, hey dude, you got to watch this. It was like maybe 2010.
Because you are kind of not proudly, but I'm not necessarily not unproudly, but definitely like you have a tendency of being disconnected from especially like popular culture in terms of like the greater popular culture. Like you're a nerd.
Absolutely.
And then like and like when you were talking about like you started I thought maybe it was since we started doing the show, I can't remember, but I remember you started singing "What a Fool Believes." I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
How do you fucking know about that song? I mean, that's something my mom listened to, and then you told me about Yacht Rock. I'm like, wait, what? Because it has all these musicians like being like assassins or being like
or just weird,
just being weird. Yeah, they made it like a gangster like shit, right?
Well, so the comedians say that like their whole thing was they want to make a joke of the fact that these guys all played with each other, right? Because they were
musically
musicians, yeah. But it just became like it started as like all like light parody, like, oh yeah, Jimmy Messina became a fucking drunk after Loggins dumped him to do his own solo thing, and that's where whatever happened, you know. But then they get weird when like they do the episode that has, oh yeah, man, Michael Jackson's gotten, you know, has been playing with what's his name, who does the guitar solo on
Eddie Van Halen.
Right, he's like him and Van Halen. Man, he's been hanging out with Van Halen. He's ruining him. And there's this whole gag that's like, yeah, me and my buddy Eddie are gonna, you know, drill more chicks than Black and Decker or whatever. Like, and then they have to call in Toto, or Toto calls in the team to like help save the day. That's because Michael Jackson's deathly afraid of ghosts, so they summon a ghost to scare him, and they get like Vincent Price to come in. It's like it becomes a gag.
It's pretty good.
Or there's one where they have the thing where I forget the band, where they're recording at the studio that is like the smooth Yacht Rock studio, except that it's like a metal band or something. But there's this whole thing where they have a fight, like there's on the mixing board there's a slider that says smooth, and it keeps get knocked up and down. And the song, which is just this song, again, I forget what band it is. It keeps like changing between hard rock and soft rock. Yeah. And the gag is that's when in the fight someone flips the slider up or down. So like they just do gags like that eventually ends with the bizarroness of like, what is it? We Are the World, and how like all these actors and shit were invited, including like Dan Aykroyd. You know, and it's like, what is going on? And then it gets into weird alien shit. But
of course, so it's a Silent Hill game, is what you're saying.
A little bit, but yeah. So it was just it was a funny series. It was just kind of parodying the history of these songs, but it created interest, right? People heard the songs like, actually, these are pretty good, you know.
Yeah.
So for now, like to come full circle to do this documentary where they bring most of these people in to say, let's talk about this, you know, legitimately. So yeah, I thought it was a delight.
Wow. That's wild. I could see a documentary about the Yacht Rock music, but like to actually, I think it's a really smart and sort of not revolutionary, but again, not to use the word again, but like progressive idea to like do a dual documentary about like the parody and that phenomena, as well as the music itself that inspired it. That's really smart. Yeah.
And they discuss that at least in this genre, that the term yacht rock, which is now like accepted, like that's what it is.
Yeah.
That description, that descriptor didn't come about until the show.
Yeah.
Actually, someone, I forget who it is. Is it Fred Armisen? Who's also in it?
I believe it. I believe it.
Someone makes the comment that like it's, you know, Beethoven and shit, that they didn't call themselves classical musicians, right? That happened later. It's kind of the same idea that like somehow this very niche, like LA based soft rock of the late 70s has this designation that everyone accepts and understands. It's just a weird documentary. I only knew because a friend said like, oh my God, I watched the documentary. I assume you know all of this already. I'm like, no, I don't. I only saw the show.
There was a classic, not to get super old school, but like an SCTV skit with Rick Moranis playing.
Michael McDonald. Talk about that one.
Yeah.
Because that's actually the gag where it's him where he's
like rushing everything to get a studio a session. Yeah.
In fact, I think Michael McDonald actually like acknowledges that was a big deal.
Like,
he's like, I'm being parodied on SCTV by, you know,
racing to get across town just to get into a studio just to sing like a 5-second backing vocal thing. It's pretty good. Rick Moranis is a genius who needs his own documentary, to be honest. Yeah. But
so anyway, that I guess that was my unexpected Week in Geek. So Dan, how about you?
Well, it's the holiday season, Andrew. I don't know if you noticed. And one of the things I wanted to do for every season, I because I like to overplan things, I guess, is that I make a list of like, okay, these are some movies that we're going to watch during the season. Whether we get to them all or not is irrelevant because whatever, life happens. And so I compiled a list as we were approaching the holiday season, and let's be exclusive and call it the Christmas season. Mm-hmm. what are some non-traditional Christmas movies that neither her or I have seen that would also kind of fit the mold of the season? And so what inspired the list is that neither she nor I have seen the original Die Hard. I'm pretty sure the only Die Hard movie I've seen is Die Hard with a Vengeance because of the Columbia House scam. But that's a different story for a different day. I watched a lot of movies because of Columbia House, and I think of it fondly.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. It was such a thrill, like pulling those stickers off the catalog and putting them on the card, and we're only getting these for a penny, minus the fucking $50 that they're fleecing out of you a month, but whatever. So among the list was a movie I've been meaning to see for a long time by a director named Satoshi Kon, a Japanese director who has unfortunately passed away. I don't know if I talked about it on the show. I definitely talked about it on the Long John website because I read a manga of his called Opus, an unfinished work because he died. And also the manga he was writing didn't just end because he died, but because he became a very famous anime director as well and was caught up in other things. But it was really impactful for me. And I really enjoy the work. But I'm ever since then, I've always been meaning to watch his movies. But I've been told, or in the reviews and explanations I've seen of those movies, they tend to be kind of engaging is the word I want to say. But definitely like they encourage a close watch. They encourage careful reflection on what's going on and stuff like that. I'm like, usually when we watch a movie, we're drinking a bottle of wine and just wanting to chill, right? And so he has, like, I think 4 big movies that people always talk about. One is, I'll talk about 2. One is called Perfect Blue, which I own, but I haven't watched yet. It's like his sort of like thriller murder drama. And the other one is Tokyo Godfathers, which is the movie that we actually watched. Because I saw an article, I forget where I saw it. It's probably easy to find on the internet. It was described as the best Christmas movie you've never heard of. I'm like, okay, I'll check it out. And so we took a risk, and it was incredible. I really enjoyed it, despite the fact that it is very blunt. It doesn't shy away from societal issues or truths. And also, it doesn't shy away from, I don't want to say it.
What?
It doesn't shy away from showing people kind of at their worst without being fake real, quote unquote, which is like so it's a movie about 3 unhoused people, homeless people who are kind of at the bottom of their own barrels. One guy is a devoted alcoholic who has lost all connection to his family. There's a transgender person who is having a lot of issues consolidating kind of their sexuality. And there's also a teenage girl that is running from a terrible decision that she made. And they've kind of become this sort of found family. And the whole movie kind of kicks off when those 3 happen to find a baby abandoned basically in a pile of garbage. And they're like, oh, we need to find this kid's parents and figure out why they did this. Or like they probably won them back. No one wants to lose a child. Very earnest in that regard. But among that premise, they don't shy away from the fact that these are 3 people dealing with severe trauma and problems. And the reason why I'm being kind of cagey is that this is a movie, I believe, from 2002, 2003, early in the 2000s. And so a lot of the language that's used in the movie can seem kind of abrasive and outdated. But if you put it in the context of the characters, it's these 3 people that are trying to deal with a problem. And they're all people that are bad at dealing with problems. And so they lash out at each other. And so they're kind of needling each other in a way to make themselves feel better, but because they're all friends, for like I said, for lack of a better word, family, they're all able to kind of overlook the horribleness of people lashing out to actually do a greater good. And it's actually an incredibly sweet, endearing, and powerful film that explores what, in theory, the season is all about. There's a lot of Christmas aspects to it, even Christianity, which is interesting in a Japanese context. It's exploring the themes of the season, and more specifically, it's a very humanistic look at what community is, at what generosity is, and of course, specifically what forgiveness is. I was really impressed, and I think of all the movies. Again, I haven't seen any of his other movies yet, although I eagerly will. I'm really glad I started with Tokyo Godfathers. Apparently, it's actually a very, very loose adaptation of an old Western.
Oh, so that's why you like it.
Yep, that's I saw that's why it was. I saw that was the source material. I'm like, okay, no, I get it. I don't even have to watch it. No, yeah, but apparently it's inspired by a 1948 film called Three Godfathers. But like, I read that Wikipedia article, like, sure, barely. It basically, three people find a baby. That's the connection.
No, that's a film from the 80s, man.
Is it? Oh, yeah. God damn it, Andrew. Yes, what's that movie called, Andrew? I forgot.
Three Men and a Baby.
Oh, yes.
Directed by Leonard Nimoy.
Of course it is. Yeah, naturally.
So this is a Star Trek conversation just wrapped around the backside.
And honestly, what is a better theme for the season than to live long and prosper? But I would recommend Tokyo Godfather. Again, like it's not necessarily a feel-good film, although it is, I think, ultimately a very sweet and thoughtful, considered film. It does not shy away from dealing directly with the struggles of homelessness, of being in that position during the winter where it actually like snows and freezes, from dealing with addiction. But it's not like, oh, you got to cover your eyes or anything like that. Like, it's just like, okay, they're dealing with this straight on, and it's appropriate for the themes of the film. It's very good. And I think appropriate for the season. I'm really glad I sort of naively put it on our list of holiday movies to watch, and was finally exposed to the good work of Satoshi Kon. So check that out if you haven't seen it yet. It is a good ass movie.
Sorry, I'm now distracted by Three Men and a Baby.
So if you, dear listeners, have any thoughts about the topics we discussed this week, feel free to leave your thoughts as comments on the page for this episode at forallintents.net.
You can also post your comments or engage in conversations with other listeners on our Facebook page.
You can find us on other social media, specifically the places that Andrew and I frequent, which means you can find me on Instagram at dbethelcomics, and you can find Andrew on Mastodon at profounddark@dice.camp.
While you're at our website at forallintents.net, you can also take a look at our YouTube page, which you can find by clicking on the link in the corner that says YouTube. There you'll find this show simulcast in YouTube. If you are listening on YouTube, please like and subscribe, or as the kids like to say, ring that bell.
We use 2 tracks of music for our show. One is called Disco Medusi, the other is called District 4, both written and performed by Kevin MacLeod, the Clan MacLeod, immortal swordsman, graph paper enthusiast, and musician extraordinaire.
You can find his music at incompetech.fieldmusic.io, and that's all licensed under the Creative Commons 4.0 attribution license.
If you like the show and like to help us out, the best way to do so would be to subscribe to the show using whichever podcasting service you happen to use. What would help us out even more, though, would be to leave some sort of review, whether a text review or using their proprietary metric will help spread the word to new potential listeners through the magic of algorithms. Andrew?
Yes, sir.
Do you know what I hate?
What?
Man, I know you talk about Cobra Kai, but like, what I really dislike is like, there's so many different Karate Kid like series and reboots and continuations, and there's just no continuity. There's no contiguousness. I really wish there were a way to bring all those together.
Okay, but wait.
What?
Wait, listen to me.
What?
What if I told you there was a movie coming out in 2025 that will unite the original Karate Kid, which includes the Cobra Kai series, and the Karate Kid movie starring Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith into one cohesive universe?
The film from 2010?
Thank you for giving me the year.
No problem. Here to help.
Yes. What if I told you there was a movie coming out that brought these things together?
Well, to me, the only title that movie could have would be Karate Kid Legends.
Well, let me tell you, that's what it's called.
So there's a trailer out for this whole idea. We're not making this up, by the way. There's a movie coming out called Karate Kid Legends that is literally threading together the original Karate Kid duology, let's say, because Hilary Swank can't get any love, and the
a trilogy though. There's 3 movies. Man.
Yeah, but we don't consider that.
No, the third movie has to count because because he's the villain of the fucking TV series.
That's true. That's true. That's true. That's true. Because the original series Cobra Kai universe with the Jackie Chan Jaden Smith reboot. Someone has figured out, because it would take a lot of brain power to thread these things together and make it work. The one thing I will say is, like, more than the movie, I bet that poster is incredible. I'm gonna look it up right now. I actually have not looked at this. This is a live react.
It's such a weird thing that, you know, this high school sports movie from the 80s is now where we're at, like a Netflix series, a big movie.
This poster is great. It could be more, but it's great. We got a Jackie. We got a very old Jackie. We looked at that before the show. He's 70.
Yeah, 70.
Good for him. For a guy that has been through several scenarios where he should have died, he's looking good. And Ralph Macchio, overlooking a young Karate Kid, let's say.
So I think that kid's new.
Yes. This is okay. I'm just going to peel away the conceit here. I think it's great. Like, yes, if Marvel can have literally a multiverse of madness, so can the Karate Kid.
The Karate Kid multiverse of madness.
Although hold on. That's the post-credit sequence, right? That's the post-credit, like, all of a sudden.
It's not even it's not a multiverse.
No, it's not. It's like, it's just the same city. Everybody shows up in the same town. That's what you need.
Well, because I think I had heard that they were making some big Karate Kid movie, but it did not stick in my brain. So when I saw this trailer, or at least actually it was a commercial. I saw a commercial today. And everyone was like, wait, was that a fucking Karate Kid commercial? Like, oh my God, what? Again, the joke is, where is Hilary Swank? Because of all the people from all the Karate's Kid.
There we go.
She has not appeared.
Post-credit sequence. The black SUV shows up, door opens, a fucking booted foot comes out. Hilary Swank with the eye patch.
And then
and
from
Jaden Smith
the other door opens and Jaden Smith gets out. But I just love the idea that it's them like, we want you to join the Miyagi Initiative. And then I like the cut to I don't know actually how to pronounce his name.
The new kid?
No, the kid from. To me, I like the idea that they're like, we want you to join the Miyagi Initiative, and cut to, I think it's
Cholo
Maraduena. Basically, the kid from Cobra Kai. It's like that it's him. He's like, guys, I already know who Mr. Miyagi is.
Right.
like yeah, I trained with whatever.
What I love is that the sequel starts and like it's Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan looking at each other, and as soon as they hear the Miyagi Initiative, they know it's bad. And you know what? Hire us. We can write the sequel. Everybody, like, get us on the horn. We're ready to break out of this podcast sphere. We're ready for bigger and better things. Is what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. So until you hear bigger and better things from us, and happy holidays to all those that celebrate whatever you might celebrate. I'm D. Bethel.
And I'm Andrew Asplund.
And for all intents and purposes,
that was a podcast.
Oops, I accidentally opened the calculator. There we go.
We'll fucking calculate that shit.
Let's do this shit.
And honestly, if that's all we talk about, that's fine too. You don't have to talk about some forbidden anime.
Oh, it's not forbidden. It's a very good movie called Tokyo Godfathers by Satoshi Kon, R.I.P.
Forbidden anime.
What would help us out even more, though, would be to leave some... Like, how did I even stumble over that? Hold on, my wife is sneezing her brains out. Okay.
So...
Bless you.